Hey guys, welcome to What If Geeks. This is John, and I got the lovely and effervescent Eric with me.
Ooh, hi John.
How do you like that one? I wanted to change it up once. I just wanted to see what happens. It's kind of an homage to one of the podcasts.
I'm like a light soda or something.
The lovely, the
sparkling
talented,
water.
whatever. Yeah. I was doing an homage to one of my favorite podcasts. It's Radio Ronin. Go check him out. Jimmy Chunga always does that kind of shit. He introduces everybody. I just wanted to try it. It didn't come across as well.
I think it'll work.
It was all right.
We just have to embrace the sausage party a little bit. It'll be all right.
Yeah, on occasion. Yeah. I do it. So you're listening to What If Geeks. This is our second Geekly Weekly episode for this week. Today is the 10th. It's kind of like the first part we did earlier. It was going to drop tonight. This one will drop Friday. The first one we did was all Star Wars and kind of Lucasfilm based, really. Mm-hmm. This one's kind of be everything else that we've kind of been talking about over the last couple weeks, because we have not been together in 2 weeks now, between the storm and people going out of town, whatever. And speaking of people going out of town, you will notice as one voice is not heard, Paul is not here.
The voice of God is missing.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. So we it's just me and Eric in the studio tonight. We're just gonna hang out and bullshit about all kinds of shit. One of the things I wanted to talk about. Why am I flipping this page? I'm already on the page I need. It's just that fidgeting shit, you know. One of the things I wanted to talk about is the website. First, because we've been speaking about it here and there. If you guys are not going to our website, it's www.whatifgeeks.com. It's in our write-up at the end of the podcast. It's on our Facebook page. You go find it. Go check it out. Go check out all these articles. Something that I know Paul and I are constantly talking about and we joke around about is Eric handles like 99.8% of everything on this fucking website. He created it. It was something like, a lot of times I'll come up with ideas. Like, I'm the guy that initially wanted to do this podcast, and I'm the one who goes, oh, okay, this would be cool. And I don't know how many times since Eric's joined us, I'll go, this would be cool. And Eric would be like, oh, well, I was starting a template for this right here. Look at this. And it's like the same thing. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I mean, like all three of us really fit well together. But Eric's the guy that, like, makes the shit happen. I come up with it, and I don't know where the hell I'm going with it. And I'm like, I want to do this. And he goes, oh, here. It's right here. Look, I made a website. Look. So you guys got to go check this shit out. It's really cool. And just the other day, he dropped a message to me and Paul. And we haven't dropped it on the website yet because we're still kind of beta testing it. But he goes, hey, look, I started a trivia. And we're like, son of a bitch. like, everything we talk about, this guy's just like, yeah, here, look. And Paul was like, this is awesome because I wanted to do like a Marvel and DC one. And you know, John and I have been talking about it for a while now, doing like trivia stuff on Facebook or whatever. So now we got the website we can do it on. And how did you do it? And Eric's like, oh, well, I just took this program, bing. And now it's just, and I'm going to get it so that it's a foundation where all you got to do is kind of like plug your info in and it'll just make it. And Paul gave it a thumbs up. And then he goes, hey, John, do you like how I gave it a thumbs up when I had no idea what the hell he was talking about? I'm like, yeah, me either. I'm like, he lost me at program. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. So we want to, I know Paul's not here to say it, but I want to thank you for all the work you put into this website.
Thank you.
I know recently my personal life has been getting in the way of me trying to do some of that shit between foreign exchange students and this and that, whatever else. So now that things are kind of like steady, getting steady again, I want to jump on this website and start playing around with it. So maybe while our wives are on their girls' cruise, you and I can hang out. And
I can show you.
You can show me how you're doing some of this stuff.
I'm 90+% of the way towards that. You guys can build your own trivia stuff. I'll show you. I'll show you when we get done with this episode. But I've done most of the framework, so you guys can build your own stuff without knowing any coding.
That'll be awesome. Yeah. So see, there you go. So look forward to that. Well, trivia, we'll have other shit.
Believe it or not, I did this like 20 years ago. As like a hobby and then as a job for a little while, but then I hated it and I quit doing it. But now if I can go back and do it, as like a fun thing I'm just doing because it's something cool I want to do, you know, like, oh, well, that would be really awesome. Can I figure that out? And so then I stay up till like 3 a.m. being like, how the hell am I going to make this quiz module? Aha! You know, and you get that moment and like I sleep 3 hours and I wake up and I'm like, you know what? I'm not even mad about it because
it's something you made. Fun,
You know, that's something I actually like. So I kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah, it's usually how I am on Wednesday mornings. I wake up, I'm like, fuck, hanging out with these guys is killing me. But I'm not mad about it because I'm having fun. It's all part of a system we're building. But so you guys check that out, and when we get ready to launch it, we'll make a big announcement. Yeah,
we'll drop everything on Facebook and Twitter too, and have links out there, and hopefully everybody can find it.
Yeah, I guess so. Since we're speaking of things that we're doing, the other thing that I'm kind of tasked these two with helping me with is since it's September 10th. I want to roll into our Halloween and horror kind of... The Halloween season is upon us. If it's not for you, I'm sorry. I don't know why you're listening to us. Because I love horror. I think I'm the big proponent of this, but I think the other two guys kind of like it too.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So I'm a huge horror nut. I love zombie movies. I love all this kind of shit. We'll get into an It review here in a minute. So I'm all about that kind of shit. So I want to do like at minimum... like a month and a half of just episodes revolving around like Halloween shit. So Eric and I are going to kind of play around with it, and then when Paul gets back into town, and all three of us can kind of brainstorm, we'll kind of tweak it together. I've got a handful of ideas for episodes that we just got to add a couple things to them, and then we can kind of, play around with who's your favorite horror character or whatever. There's a lot of trivia and shit we can kind of play around with too. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
so we'll mess around with that. So all right,
so we can get a good 4 or 5 weeks of Halloween content.
Oh yeah, easy. I've already written down a handful of them. I just need help tweaking it, and then we'll play with it. All right. So speaking of which, I guess to do a soft launch for Halloween, It Chapter 2 dropped in theaters last Friday. Right?
Yep. 6. Yep.
And
so I was looking at IMDb on this one. And Metacritic. The critic reviews are sort of half and half. Not bad good, but mediocre good.
Right,
There was very few bad stuff. And then you go look at the user reviews, which happens a lot, like especially on Rotten Tomatoes or whatever. You look at the user reviews and they're like mostly positive. You're like, okay, where are we? But the chief complaints I saw from the critics fans don't care about, which is the runtime. You mentioned this, it's 2 hours and 45, 2 hours, 50 minutes, something like that.
Yeah, it's
long. That's long. And I mentioned to you off air, somebody said, I forget who the hell it was, but that the runtime of a movie should be related to the human's bladder capacity because it can be hard for people to hold their...
Yeah, and I will say something before we move on to that one. Speaking of that, right? Endgame, I had to get up at one point, right, when it was 3 hours.
Me too.
I got up at one point. This movie, I went to the bathroom right before, and typically, if I really think that it's going to be like a movie where I'm going to have to get up in the middle and I don't want to, if I've seen a trailer, I'll get up right in the middle of that trailer and hurry up and try to go, depending on how close the bathroom is. This one, I went before the trailers, we sat down, and, it was just me and Heather. It was our date night, and she was joking with me, too. She was like, I said, I think I'm going to get ready to go to the bathroom. She's like, we just went. You sure? I'm like, okay, I'm going to wait. I went through the whole movie. Not a problem. Like, I didn't even realize we were there for 2 hours and 45.
Did you have a drink? Did you have a 10-gallon drink?
I drank 2 Dr. Peppers.
Holy shit.
Yeah, 2 large. We went to Sinopolis.
Movie-sized drinks, too.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't go. I was like, I was engaged in this movie. Now, once the credits hit and... halfway through the credits, I was like, okay, I gotta go.
Yeah, I'm not waiting for the credit scene.
Yeah. Well, there was no
wasn't
credit
one,
scene.
but
there was not.
If there was, you would have missed it.
No, I hurried up and looked it up real quick. I was like, is there a credit scene? No, I didn't think so.
Oh,
okay,
that's
bye.
funny.
Oh, yeah, I look them up. If I really got to go, I look it up.
All right, so...
Damn you, Marvel, you ruined credits.
So the critics also said that it wasn't just that it was 3 hours, but it didn't need to be quite that long. That they slow rolled stuff. Now, for somebody that read the book and is really invested in this, you might not agree with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
I mean, every book is a slow roll, right? I mean, that's
every Stephen King book is a slow roll. But for the story they told, the time they took to tell it was good enough.
Yeah.
And they still managed to kind of I guess, cut away some of... Stephen King is a very flourishing writer. He'll take 7 pages to describe one thing. Yeah. They don't do that in this movie. It's got a pace and it keeps it. I don't remember it really getting dead. I think it was good. There was no need to cut any of the time, I don't think.
Okay, so the next thing I saw a lot of was the loss of like having the kids sort of coming of age and challenging thing, meeting up with this horror element was like what made Chapter 1 It. Well, this is the retroactive name, It Chapter 1, right? Made it so good. And then now you don't have that because you have adults and you lose that piece of the story. And that's part of the book too, but the book is one continuous
the book story. Back and forth.
I mean, you know what I mean? It's integrated, and then they made the movies separate. So people critics felt like you lost some stuff there.
Well, now, I will say, yes, because in the book, it goes back and forth between kids and adults, throughout the entire book, right? The movies, they decided, okay, we're going to tell it Chapter 1, see how this does, so we'll tell it from the kids' perspective, and then we'll have the adults in Chapter 2, if the first one does well, right? Well, it blew it out of the water, so obviously they'll come back for the second one. Yes, there is a difference. You see it. You feel it. The first one is, to me, superior just because it does have the kids in danger kind of, that whole nostalgic 80s thing, that
it's told from a kid's perspective, really.
Yeah, so it's definitely within that whole Goonies, Stand By Me, Stranger Things vibe that like you get nostalgic for, right? So yeah, the adult one is not as good, but when you accept the fact that it's the sequel to a horror movie and it has to stay within this certain parameter and tell this story and give it a conclusion, it's a great movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, it definitely does lose some of that stuff. They do enough flashbacks with the kids kind of back and forth there where they flesh out a little bit of the stuff that happened in between, or not in between, but some of the stuff that happened after and whatever. They kind of flesh out some of the shit that you didn't see behind the scenes before. And you're like, oh, okay, it kind of gives it a little more depth. And then it drops, you get the adults in between that. So it still does kind of the flashback and forth thing. But overall, I mean, it was good. I think it's not as good as the first one, but I think overall, if you watch the two of them back to back, you got a really good combination of a movie.
So the last complaint I saw with that was that the ending was a letdown. I saw that from several critic reviews, but Andy Muschietti sat down with Den of Geeks to do an interview, and he specifically talked about this and said he changed the ending on purpose so that you could have more connection, with the adult characters.
Yeah.
And it didn't end and go into some bizarre place like the book. It was more of a what if. You don't know what's going to happen. It could be something. Who knows?
Okay, yeah. So a few things I noticed that, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to say anything that happens in the movie.
And no
what
spoilers.
I'll do is
no
I'll
spoilers.
go to the book, because the book is old, and if you haven't read it by now, I don't know what you're doing. In the book, when the adults fight it, for one, there's the whole lead up to it with who gets hurt or killed or whatever on the way to fight Pennywise is different too. There's a whole series of shit that's different going into it. But then with the final confrontation they have in the book, they fight him and they defeat him, and it's they realize it's this creature from outer space or whatever, and it is like this giant spider-looking thing in the book as well. But it's they describe it as it's the only thing that their minds can conjure. They can't conjure what he really looks like, so that's what their minds will allow them to see. It's the closest thing to it as they can see, and they fight it, which is where like the '90s movie gets. It's like, oh, it's criticism. It's a giant spider, but that's what it is. It's not what it is, but it's what you see.
Yeah.
Well,
so ultimately,
it's very.
It's some sort of otherworldly...
King was on some drugs when he made this book,
it's ultimately
too.
some sort of otherworldly thing from another dimension that it doesn't even play in our realm. So
right, so you can't comprehend what it really is in the book, and then you just see it as a spider or whatever. That's what they see it as collectively. And when they kill it in the book, also by the way, it is female in the book and is pregnant. So they kill it. And none of that is touched on in this movie because they didn't want to go like, oh, is it open for a sequel or whatever, you know? They don't touch on any of that. Like Muschietti, yeah. He doesn't say anything about it being female or whatever. But in the book, the whole town starts coming down and like a lot of shit's going bad, like in the middle of this whole thing. And there's a lot of shit that they don't even touch on, like in I don't know, random shit. Like Bev's husband comes after her, and Bill's wife is coming looking for him too, and they're involved with it and all this other shit. There's a lot of shit that goes on in the book that they cut out, and so the ending is different, but I think I understand what he's saying, where he tried to make it so that the audience kind of, they related to the adult characters more, and it is. And again, that's about as close as I can get without spoiling anything, because otherwise I got to describe what was different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, though, it was a really good movie. There was like one time in there with some of the CGI that took me out of it. Like, if they would have tweaked it a little bit more, it would have looked, you know what I mean? But it was only for a second. Yeah. Where I was just like, it was like one shot of a part of a scene that I was like, it might have looked a little fake, you know? But outside of that, and that could have just been, they missed it in editing, whatever. But something looked not right. But other than that, I mean, the movie's great. I loved it. Yeah, I want to go see it again. But I'm going to wait because I got too much shit to see. I got way too much
You got 3 hours to burn?
Yeah, no, I got too much other shit to watch. But, so overall, it's good. It's a good ending to the first half. Go watch it. Give them your money. So hopefully they'll make better Stephen King stuff, because there's a lot of shit coming down the pike. Sometime during our Halloween stuff, there you go. Yeah. Add that to our shit. We'll have to do all the Stephen King stuff that's coming and what we want them to do.
And they could do some reboots on some of that old stuff.
I know they're going to.
They didn't do poorly, but they just didn't do justice to it.
So we'll save it for an entire separate Stephen King episode that falls into our Halloween stuff. There you go. Look, I already wrote one episode. Bam. Hey. All right, moving on. What do we got?
There was a new Terminator Dark Fate trailer that was dropped. I think it's almost 2 weeks ago now, but after the last time we got together. Around, so it's a little more bloody and gory, and there's more Sarah Connor, and there's more Cyborg. I think that's all. That's all I can say about it. Yeah.
The one she thinks she's an enhanced human. Yeah. Who knows what the hell she is? They're gonna cover it in there. Again, the only thing I can say about Terminator, same fucking thing I say about the Transformers. I watched the Transformers movie after the first one, maybe the second one, and I'm like, all right, I enjoyed those. You get into 3, 4, whatever, and I'm like, these are god awful. Same shit happened with the Terminator movies. 1, 2, I loved them. 3, 4, really. But every time they drop a fucking trailer for one of these series, I'm like, I'm in. Yeah. I forgot everything that I was hating on it. They did it again with me with these 2 trailers. I'm just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to give it another shot.
I'm not in the same boat as you. I think we had this conversation before. I got tired of it.
We did.
So I don't even know what happened.
We know I'm the LCD, so.
Yeah. And then I was like, oh, no. You were like, no, wrong. You didn't watch them. Yeah, you're right. I didn't. So anyway, this I think we covered.
It's hard to judge it when I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think we covered this when we covered this on the upcoming shit. But it will ignore everything after Judgment Day, and it will be a sequel to the 91, 92 movie,
which a lot of movies are doing now. Yeah, and I'm fine with that. If you want to ignore the dumb shit,
and so it's funny because the things you said, okay, you're making cringe faces, like fuck this. They're gonna skip all that, and it's well, let's start back over. Okay, 1 and 2 were okay. We'll just go.
And now you have me back again. I'm like, oh fuck, okay, fine.
Just go from there. But everybody's gonna be 20 years, 30 years older. What year is it? It's be 30 years older.
Yeah.
So,
which is gonna have some explaining to do. Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
Yeah. We'll see how they play it out. So that'll be in theaters November 1st.
Yeah, I'm looking. I'm looking forward to it. I guess.
Yeah. I'll save that one for after Joker since they're related, sort of. So Spider-Man, MC. Oh, we forgot your. Florida Man.
My Florida Man. Oh yeah.
All
right. Well, let's drop a Florida Man real quick.
Oh, right in the middle. Florida Man. Here he comes. Middle.
Florida Man. Apparently does whatever Spider-Man can. So a Florida man in a Spider-Man mask steals a bunch of bottles from a liquor store in Seminole County. Not that far. Edward Fast Eddie Wilburn.
Fast Eddie?
Fast Eddie.
A-Train.
First approached the store without the mask on. Then left and came back with it on.
But he had did you just have the mask or was it a whole suit?
No, it's just a mask. Okay, I'll show you the video later. It's just a mask. So... yeah, and then my own comment was, which we're going to lead right into what you're about to say, is Spidey's taking the Sony Disney breakup pretty hard.
Yeah, he is. Actually, he's not. Tom Holland is taking it gracefully as you ever could. Him and Robert Downey Jr. always bantering on Twitter and talking about how they're going to bring it back, and they got, where do they even? I guess these guys have all the money in the world, but when they're on Twitter, like holding up a picture of themselves with a fucking little action figure you'd buy at Walmart, I'm like, where do they even get these? Why do these guys own these?
They were just jogging.
Was that what it was?
They get sent all this memorabilia.
Is that what it is? They just get all kinds of free memorabilia and they just
right
keep
after
it.
The movie drops,
that makes
they
sense.
Get sent boxes of shit, and they keep what they want. They donate the rest. That's what. Because
I'm imagining Tom Holland like in a Target, like, oh man, where's that Iron Man shit at?
No, they get a bunch of that shit just free. So, yeah, and it was funny too because they had all the fans like losing their minds. They had gone like hiking, and then they tweeted a picture of the two of them, and each was holding the other one's character in their hand.
Little action figures.
Yeah,
what the fuck?
We did it. So everyone was like, "Oh my god, Sony and Disney are back together!" And
so everybody lost their shit, and then the Sony CEO and chairman came out and said, "Yeah, guys, no, there's no deal." Everything's off.
It is closed.
No negotiations. And so we almost got in this conversation before the show, and I said, let's save it for the show. But if anybody could do a successful Marvel, I hate to call it a universe because that isn't what it is. Just a verse.
Spider-Verse.
Just a verse. Yeah, Spider-Verse, maybe.
Yeah, the Spider-Man.
If anybody could do it, Sony could do it. We've talked about this before. They own hundreds of characters, tons of villains. They have what seems like a decent plan to marry them all together.
Yes, and I would have said that with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield as well.
Okay, all right.
And each time they got... Here was the problem with Sony the first time. Tobey Maguire, whatever. Once it got to number 3, Sam Raimi had a vision. He wanted to do a certain thing the way he wanted to do it. And Sony stepped in and said, who do the kids really like? Oh, Venom. Venom's really popular. He has to be in this movie. And Sam Raimi had no plan for Venom at all. And it shows in that movie.
Yeah, and they fucked it up. But it was the highest grossing October release of all time.
Following Spider-Man 2. Sure. Yeah. And then how much of that, what you don't see in that figure is how many of those people wish they had the money back.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I think that's, it's funny because for the fans, they've got one idea. And we talked about Venom. And we put it on our list of worst movies of the decade because they fucked it all up. But for the studio, they made a fortune. And they can do it again. And if they cross over with Spider-Man, they will do it again.
They will.
They're going to have a whole lot of fucking explaining to do on the backstory and how it doesn't involve Spider-Man, but somehow those two are going to end up arch enemies. We've already talked about this before.
And then on the other hand is like Andrew Garfield. They did it again at the end of number 2.
But people will pay for it.
Too much shit into it.
But people will pay for it.
They keep cramming too much shit into it. If they, just like DC does too. You see it. It's like everyone's Achilles heel and nobody sees it. But Marvel sees it and Marvel does it the right way.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Because you know what? There's Kevin Feige is that guy with the fucking ruler. And every time someone goes, let's throw in this, he goes, stop.
Yeah.
No, just slow down. We have 3 movies. Let's do it here, not now. There's too much.
Yeah.
You have to have at least one person doing that. And we can get into the Kevin Feige thing here in a second.
Yeah, it's just a perfect segue.
Yeah, but I'm going by Sony's history. I have faith in them, especially after Into the Spider-Verse. I'm like, well, the animated was really cool. The video game is amazing. And then they bought out Inverse. Inverse. Is that the name of the company?
I think it's Inverse, yeah.
Yeah. I popped that one out of my head. So I have faith in them on that avenue. It's just 2 times so far. You fucked it up. So what's going to happen? And then my only other problem is, what Spider-Man are you going to get? Because this one right now is way too invested, and his blood runs in the MCU.
Yeah, well, and Iron Man in particular, they took that really far. Yeah.
So, which was one of my complaints about him.
Yeah.
Which why I liked him, and I love Tom Holland. I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. I love him, but I thought this version of Spider-Man was way too engrossed with the whole Iron Man thing. Even on the MCU side. I've said that before.
No, it was pretty excessive.
Your regular, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who's doing his own thing.
Yeah, you're right. It was excessive.
Which I think Sony's going to try to get back to. But you have the same actor. It's going to be tough to do. I will say I agree with you. If any company can do it, it's Sony.
Well,
but they have to learn from their past mistakes.
Yeah, I didn't mean Sony has the right mindset to do it, just that they have all the right property ownership.
They have the tools, they have the talent.
Yeah, they do.
Let's see if they can make it work. That's my point. I'm just going by history. Let's see. I want to believe in them.
Yeah.
I just, fool me once, shame on me. It was the old George Bush thing. Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me once, you can't shame me again. And we horrible George Bush impersonation.
It was.
All my impersonations are bad.
But we almost missed the segue and all that, which is that
Kevin Feige.
Yeah, Feige. So what's his name? What the hell is the Sony CEO? He's got like this long ass last name. It's like Vasquez or some shit. But anyway, he made a comment that the reason they couldn't, broach a deal or whatever was that Feige was being stretched too thin with developing so many characters.
Yeah,
like,
that was one of my 2 favorite parts of this whole thing. Now he's speaking for Kevin Feige.
Yeah, right? Like, and to your point,
I did hear earlier,
Feige knows how to control this stuff. He knows how to, stop things that are bad for it.
When we talked about this earlier, do you remember I said one of the hiccups in this new sit-down was that Kevin Feige had not been getting paid, right? He was just kind of doing it like in a gesture of good faith, trying to help, whatever. And that was only something I read briefly, so I don't even know how true that is. But taking it at face value, if the guy's not getting paid anything extra to do this, and then now you're going to come out and say he was getting stretched too thin, no, you just didn't fucking pay him for his time.
Yeah,
there's a difference.
Yeah. No, and then he knows exactly what he's doing.
He could have done it easy. He's been doing it.
I don't know what more proof you need than just what is.
The MCU.
Yeah. What else do you need? He knows what the fuck he's doing. You have to catch up, Sony.
Yeah. Sony, Fox, DCU.
Yeah, everybody. CW. No.
All of them. Netflix, fuck it. All of you guys. You guys got to catch up. Jesus. Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Well, Warner Brothers is one that they've been writing it for a long, long time, and they've never been insanely successful like on the MCU sort of scale, but they've always done pretty well.
Well, again, because there's lots of stuff they do that I love, and I'm like, why can't you just get it? It always falls down to the cohesive universe.
Yeah,
they can't get that cohesive. universe
we've definitely talked about that before, and I think we'll probably go into that next.
Yeah. So Kevin Feige is stretched too thin, and then what was the other thing he said? At the very end of the conversation, the CEO was like, "Well, Kevin didn't do it all."
Yeah.
I was like, you know what that is? That's you're not looking. Stop looking at him. Look at what my people can do, and we have, and that's why
we've been there.
Marvel stepped in. But so all right. Anyway, moving on from that.
Moving on.
All right,
so we're moving on to
Sorry,
Joker.
Sony.
Yeah, Joker, right? Well, that's where we're going. DCU. We were talking about DCU, and
yes.
So the Joker movie is not coming out.
Speaking of can't get right.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So the Joker movie is not coming out until October 4th, but they started early screenings on, I think it was August 31st.
Yeah, and I should clarify, my can't get right is DC, not Joker necessarily, because apparently.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's the big story, and that's why we're talking about it. So. They started early screenings on 31st. There's a bunch of critic reviews already. It's insanely positive. Like, there's a 9.6 out of 10 on IMDb. Like, Jesus Christ, man. And so on top of that, at the Venice Film Festival, they won the Golden Lion for Best Movie Award. And then there was apparently a fucking 8-minute standing ovation after the close of the screening. 8-minute standing ovation for goddamn movie.
Okay, before we get into anything else, can I hit a couple points here?
Mm-hmm.
All right, one, we already know how I feel about this movie.
Yeah.
I don't want it to fail, but I never needed it. We know that.
Yeah, we talked about that.
I'm going to go watch it. I don't need a Joker origin movie. So this is an unnecessary movie that I'm going to go watch. Right? I forgot where you sat on that.
I was in the same boat with you. I said, well, we talked about this. DC has a problem with continuity in their movies, and it's just like everything is just let's do this over again, or let's do a different origin story that doesn't match with the last one, or it's like constant.
And they got a clusterfuck thing going on of do we want to do an overall universe or not, and nobody knows what's going on with them anymore. So because on one hand you do have a joint universe, which is Am and whatever, and then you kind of don't. So whatever. The other thing with the standing ovation part, don't forget that when they, first of all, the critics thing. On the one hand, on the other hand, going along with what we said about, do we really want this movie?
Yeah.
Notice that it's the critics that are like, oh, this is amazing, blah, 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 whatever. So they're going for like the art side of things, not remotely looking at like what the fans are even remotely talking about. So I can see that. I can see them giving it a higher score just to shit on the fans that don't want it. I can see that happening.
I'm not sure that they're that awful, but I mean, I get where
I am. Most people are awful, and most of these people who think they're better than everybody else are even more awful, and that's them. So, and then the last point I was going to bring out was, if you forget, the standing ovation thing also happened for Batman versus Superman too.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that.
Which we planted on our worst movies.
Yes. So let's not forget that they also got a standing ovation.
I'm not forgetting that, but I will say this: there is some art to telling a Joker story, particularly if that's all you're going to do in the movie. There's going to be no hero. There's just going to be Joker. There is an art to that, and I think the Joker that I think all three of us, I don't want to speak for Paul not being here, but fell in love with the most was the Ledger Joker, right? And it was a little bit off the rails, and it was dark, and it was different than any other Joker.
Yeah, I think the only other one I liked on par with him, only because it was a completely different take, and you had more of a relationship with him because he was there longer, was the Mark Hamill animated series Joker.
Okay.
Just only because that had a longer time to tell the story.
Yeah.
And show the relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
So, you got that whole, like, Hamill as the Joker doing, hey, bats, whatever.
Yeah.
That whole thing, like, it showed a really intimate relationship between the two of them.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. So I think, for me, the two of them are tied, but for different reasons,
Yeah.
As overall portrayal, I love Ledger above all.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably the best Joker there's been. So here's why I like this. So Joaquin Phoenix did a sit-down interview to talk about how he decided to portray the Joker, right? Mm-hmm. And in that, he said, I mean, in a nutshell, I'm paraphrasing in a way that only the geeks could, but fuck all the previous Jokers. He said he didn't look to any of them for inspiration. He just thought about how crazy is this guy really got to be? And then he said he read some books on, like, the mindset of assassins and, like, political activists that, like, do crazy terrorist shit.
Right.
And, like, that's the thing he went with. And then in order to figure out how to do a maniacal laugh, he watched a bunch of videos of, like, people with, you know what pseudo-bulbar effect is? Like, people that can't help but laugh.
But do that maniacal laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he, like, watched videos of those people, and that's how he developed his laugh. And he specifically said in this interview I did not want people to like this Joker. Like, not be able to relate to him at all. Like,
right.
He wanted it to be like an out there, this dude is fucking crazy. Like, you're going to see it from the get-go that he's a fucking nut bar and he's going off on a nutty rail you never saw coming. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think if they really do it that way, and they do a Joker origin story, like, even darker, even crazier, you could really work with that, talking about earlier about if you take all these villains and you show a dark story and then you put them all together, you know, to make a movie where they fight a hero, that could be really cool.
Yeah.
It could be a new formula that certainly Marvel doesn't have that could really work. And it works better in DC than it ever could in the Marvel Universe.
It does. And now I think the other rumor, because there's a rumor going around that maybe he could lead, like if he's well received, he could lead into the overall universe. But I really think that's not going to happen at all.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I mean, I could see a few movies
they
worth
could do it,
integrating things into yet another Batman, but maybe a better one.
It could be. It could be a darker.
But it's not. It
could be interesting.
It's not going to be the Batman that's coming, though.
Now, no. But then it wasn't you. It was Paul that watched one of the Robert Pattinson movies. We'll get into that in a second.
Oh God!
All right, let's finish up Joker. For Joker, all right. This is going to be my bottom line because it comes out in 1 month, and we're going to go watch it. I've already said I don't need the movie. That being said, the fact that they've said, okay, this is an alternate take, this has got nothing to do with anything you've seen before or whatever, it has nothing to do with the comic book, whatever. They're just taking the very concept of the Joker and telling a story. That being what it is, I want to watch this movie now.
I want to see it now.
Much like I sold myself on the Dark Tower, I'm selling myself on this, and for God's sake, I really do think Joker is going to be an amazing movie.
So if they pay critics to get people hyped about a movie, they fucking got me.
Yeah. I'm in. I'm all in on this movie.
See this
I didn't want to do it.
Now I do.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it. But when you gave me Joaquin Phoenix, I'm like, fuck, I could really see him as even like the Joker in the legit DC.
He can play crazy too. I mean, you could see that in a little bit.
He already is.
Yeah.
Just like he's such a method actor that he's the only method actor I know that hasn't like offed himself after a role.
So
please knock on wood
Gladiator.
somewhere.
The Emperor and the Gladiator was one of his like crazy like he's off his rails.
The guy's amazing. I like him.
He did it really well.
So you give me that, and I'm like, well, fuck yeah, I do want to see this, but now it's everything I'm hearing about it. I'm like, this is getting better and better. And I just stopped fighting. After a while, you just like, you pick your fights. I stopped fighting this. I'm like, all right, alternate universe. I accept it. Now I'm all in. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid, and I want to watch this, and I want it to do good. I really do believe this movie is going to be like Oscar worthy. Like they're talking. There are rumors that it's like it's that level.
But it's already it's winning awards at a pre-screening for Christ's
sake. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But before that, they were talking about it being in contention just for the rumor mill. So I believe in it.
Yeah, and just
there you go. I said it. I believe in Joker.
I believe in it. So just because I love trivia.
Okay. Oh, before that, sorry.
Yeah.
We touched on it real quick. I think because you laughed, so it wasn't you. I think Paul said he went back and watched one of.
Oh yeah, I didn't do that. Pattinson's movies.
It was either Paul or it was one of my friends from work. Went back and watched one of Pattinson's movies because there's this
somebody
thing,
said there's a couple.
Everyone
movies
hates the
that
fact that Pattinson's going to be Batman, but then there's this underground movement that's like if you watch anything other than Twilight, you'll see all the stuff that he's done in between Twilight and now that prove to you that he's actually a really good fit for this role. So I have not done it yet. So I vow I'm going to do this by the end of the year. I'm going to watch 3 of whatever the movies were. There were like 10 movies in this article. And he's got one that's coming up, Lighthouse, that looks pretty gritty. I want to try to check that one out. I think it's like him and like Robert Redford or somebody, I forget. But then it's like black and white. It's really weird. I want to check it out. But there's a whole other side to him, apparently. Like Twilight really fucked him up for a while. So you want to watch him in these other movies. And this article had at least 10 movies that you should go check out that prove why he would be a good Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I wouldn't even imagine he'd been in 10 movies.
Right, because he's been doing low-key stuff to get away from Edward.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, you know what? Just like I did with Michael Keaton and Ledger, and now I'm going to do it with Joaquin Phoenix and the Joker. Fuck it. I'm going to do it with Pattinson too. I'm going to go watch a few of these movies between now and year's end to prep to see what I think. And then by the end of the year, when we do like our year closeout, we'll talk about whether or not I'm looking forward to Batman. So that was that one.
All right. So tiny piece of trivia, just because I love numbers and things, but they're saying now that this will probably surpass 100 million on the opening weekend, which interestingly, Venom holds the current record for an opening weekend in October, and it just barely skipped 100 million. So this could beat it.
I think it's going to beat it.
It'll be funny. October, yeah. It'll be funny because Venom beat it in the bad way.
Yeah.
I hope it's not the same.
I hope it's amazing. I can't. Yeah, I know. Neither one of us can believe I just said that.
Yeah, I know. So I'm going to jump backwards because I skipped over this one earlier, and it's just pseudo Joker related. So the new Suicide Squad, the sequel or whatever, they announced yet another actor, pseudo famous Peter Capaldi, who does the 12th Doctor Who or whatever. It's just like, I think I'm
going to piss off like two people, but I've never really watched any Doctor Who stuff.
Yeah, some people are huge fans and some aren't. I don't know what to say. I feel like it's a British thing, but that it's not. You meet people that
there are a lot of British stuff that I really like, but I just never got into Doctor Who. And I've had like one of my wife's best friends back in the day. She was a huge Doctor fan, and I just never get into it. She kept telling me you'd love it, and I bet I would, but there's so much other shit that I keep watching that I'm like, I keep forgetting about it. That's my thing. I keep forgetting about it. So there you go. Anyone who actually watches Doctor Who, you can watch a whole bunch of
Doctor Who right now too for free with all the streaming stuff you got.
I know. Yeah, I've got a lot of streaming shit. I can watch almost everything. I could probably be watching your living room at the point.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, anyone who's actually a Doctor Who fan, go ahead and comment and email us. Sell me on it. Sell me to the point where I actually say, you know what, I have to watch it.
Well, Doctor Who aside, I think he's probably
he's just so iconic. He's one of the few iconic.
Yeah, but he's like the 8th or 9th person they've announced for some sort of role in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, getting back to Suicide Squad.
What are they doing at this point? Like,
it's not going to be good.
I know. It's a little bit scary that they're just doing a lot of hype and hiring actors. And it's
mad. It makes me mad because I know James Gunn went over there after the Disney thing, and I love James Gunn.
And he knows what he's doing. I mean, I'm sure he doesn't have full creative control.
I love Margot Robbie, but that's a completely different thing.
Well, no, that part of it will be fine, but...
Yeah. All she got to do is stand there. Oops. Speaking of Birds of Prey, there's another one. We didn't even write that one down. Tangent, the Birds of Prey trailer. That shit was funny as hell. And they even showed it right before It Chapter 2. Did you see the new trailer?
Oh, you saw it in the theaters?
Yeah. So I saw it before, but then I saw it in the theaters too. So the WB logo comes up, and a red balloon floats by. So you're like, oh, okay, you know. And you start to hear the like that Pennywise music shit that every time you saw that weird, creepy shit, you start to hear that playing, right? And then more balloons come up, and then like there's one or two here and there, like floating past the screen. And then the WB logo fades out, and it says DC. And I'm the only one that caught this, apparently, because everyone else was just like thinking Pennywise. And then you start to see a silhouette walking toward you. And at first, it does look a little bit like Pennywise. But as it walks in, all these balloons are there. And then it steps into the light. And it's Harley Quinn with her mallet. And she smashes the balloons. And she goes, I'm so fucking sick of clowns. And as she says fucking, one of the other balloons pops to bleep her. But then it cuts to a bunch of quick little shots of the Birds of Prey. And then the logo drops, Birds of Prey. And it's called Birds of Prey and the Emancipation of One Harley Quinn or some shit like that.
Yeah.
Some random.
Something.
It's one of those like artistic, fun titles. It's like, okay, yay. But it fits the character perfectly. And so, so it was a cute little quick trailer, teaser thing. But I don't know. That one I'm kind of looking forward to only because, again, Margot Robbie. And Ewan McGregor's in it as Black Mask. So I'm kind of like, I want to see what he does, but I don't know, because Black Mask, he always has a mask on in the comics, and you got someone like Ewan McGregor, he's not going to be wearing a mask.
No.
Not maybe a little bit, but not, So I don't know. Again, this is going to be one of those. Yeah, this is going to be one of those DC movies that I'm not sure. I bet it's going to go along the lines of the original Suicide Squad, where it's cool, but it's not.
I like the first one. Well,
I liked it.
It had certain redeeming qualities that we continually talk about. So
yeah.
It's probably
mostly Margot Robbie.
Not that good of a movie.
It's not. When you go back and watch it, it's not. When we will have to, whenever we come up with a good month to do our penance. Yeah. The three of us will have to watch random movies that we hate.
Margot Robbie, and then you have Deadshot playing Will Smith. Is that how that works?
Yeah, that's exactly how that worked. And that's exactly what I was afraid of when we first started talking about it. Like, what do you think this is going to be? I was like, this is going to be a Will Smith vehicle and a heartbeat watch. And it was.
All right, we'll let it go. We'll let it go for now. We'll see how this turns out.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be 14 more announcements of famous people being in this goddamn thing before the release.
Yeah, by December, we're going to find out that we're in it.
All right. So, a couple smaller closing things. So we had talked before. We had Dark Crystal, the Age of Resistance, which is a new series that's on Netflix, which was based on the old Jim Henson 80s movies about the Dark Crystal, right? Which was in turn based. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But so there we go. So we're a little bit excited about this. I started watching it.
I was when they first announced this, I was like really excited. I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool.
Yeah. So I started watching this. They had said that they've still done puppets, and I thought, okay, that's fine. And then they merged them with special effects that are modern age, and everything was going to be cool. Definitely, they have better special effects.
So do they have a puppet with like little dots for the cat?
No, and sadly they don't, and that's where they missed the mark. So they've got all these special effects with the crystal and the skies, and they've done all these things to make the sort of world look so much more realistic or whatever. But then the characters are like the old school 80s puppets. It's ridiculous. Like, they don't have any moving parts except the eyes closed and the mouth, and it's fake as hell. And when they talk, it's like if you watch a dub over of a movie, you know what I mean? Like in another language, and it's like
30 minutes in, Alf shows up,
match up, and like what? And then, I mean, just everything about it is like it worked in the 80s, and now we're so far past that. I can't do it anymore. I can't. I'm seriously. I watched one episode of this, and I'm like, I don't think I can watch the rest of it. Like, it's just like it doesn't engage me anymore. It's not.
Yeah.
It starts off great, and there's these wide angle shots when they're coming in, and everything looks really cool. And then you see the fucking. Oh, it's just awful. The puppets have like little rubbery teeth that squish when they talk, and everything is just wrong about it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's just like...
Yeah, you warned me about it.
I can't do it. I don't think I can do it. I'm going to really try hard to watch it, but I have a side story, which I put in the outline so that it doesn't count as a tangent. So
good, because with this, I was about to go on another tangent. Go ahead.
You can do one, too. So this goes back to my...
We're only 18 minutes in.
That's fine. Oh, but we're actually 48 minutes in. But
oh, that's right. That's right, yeah. Oops.
Yeah, we got the first 30. So this goes back to my Lion King movie complaint. And if you haven't read my review on the blog, I'll just say I complained about there being no emotion in the characters because it made them look like real animals, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the puppets. Their eyes blink, their mouths open, they don't really smile. You know, they don't have eyebrows that can move in all kinds of different ways. They're missing 96 face muscles or whatever the fuck we have.
Sure.
And you just can't read emotion on them. You have to rely on the voice. And it's hard. It's hard. It worked in the 80s. It's hard now because we've had a different experience. So I went to Animal Kingdom Saturday.
Sat there trying to talk to the lion.
No, I went to Animal Kingdom on Saturday. I went to the animation experience. That's where they teach you to draw characters or whatever, you know? Uh-huh. And it happened to be fucking Simba from The Lion King. That was the character. So we're starting to draw this thing. You start with the iris and then the whites of the eyes, and they keep going out. And they get to the fucking eyebrows. And the guy says, we have to make these characters look like humanoid a little bit so people can actually relate to them. So he's like, lions don't have eyebrows, but Simba's got eyebrows. And then that continued on, like, with the smile. Like, lions don't really smile, but like, yeah, hello, dude. This is why your fucking Lion King remake doesn't work. Because there's no emotion, because there's no facial expressions, because they're not human. They're just animals. Yeah. They look just like animals. Like, how did you not see that? And maybe the guy saw it, and it wasn't like I was having an argument with him in the middle of animation experience, but I was just laughing because Becca gave me shit about the review I gave on The Lion King. Like, it really wasn't that bad. I'm like, no, it was that bad. They remade the original movie, and then they took away everything, so it's just... It looks like a lion I'd see on the Discovery Channel, and it's a story I already saw, and now I'm totally reliant on a voice actor.
Yeah, and it's everything. Talking, and it's really fucking me up.
Yeah.
But hey, Lady and the Tramp's coming out.
Maybe they'll do something cooler with that.
Did you see the trailer for that one?
But I told... yeah, I have.
You have? Okay, yeah. So it looks like it's like Space Buddies?
Yeah, I'm not sure what the fuck they're thinking. They have time to redo it now that they've decided to put it on the streaming, and maybe they could fix some things with some post-editing effects or something. I don't know.
No.
But I told Becca I'm vindicated. See, I'm vindicated. Even the fucking artist from Disney knows that you have to have human eyebrows, facial expressions of some sort on an animal, or it doesn't work.
Oh my god!
So anyway, that's my side thing. What was your tangent? Sorry,
I completely fucking forgot. Oh, somebody at work had mentioned, because we get into the conversations at work, and then I come up with show ideas sometimes too. Specifically, a friend of mine who has his own YouTube channel that he's starting for a podcast, so he films his for YouTube like we're going to. When we were talking about the things that we were doing, we got on the subject of someone at work started talking about cartoons that kids watch or whatever. They started talking about like old school cartoons that we used to watch, and I mentioned this to you and Paul in our messenger. And my buddy Daniel goes, "Dude, John, you and your boys need to do this for your What If Geeks podcast. Do like the old school shit that we watched that would like completely fuck up kids today." Yeah, and it was like The Dark Crystal and Watership Down, and even like The Hobbit, like the shit that's just like when you look back, you're like, what the fuck were we watching? Which kind of doesn't quite fit in with the Halloween stuff, but maybe it does. So maybe like this month we should like plan one of those and do it so that it kind of leads more into like, here's some of the creepiest shit we used to watch, and then like,
hey, that's Thanksgiving. We're giving thanks for the shit we grew up with. That's what we'll say with it.
Oh, damn. Okay, that'll work. There's a lot of shit for Thanksgiving because that's going to roll right into Christmas too. So yeah, we got to find a spot for this show. That's going to be a really cool show to do about like just random shit that we used to watch. But it was like Dark Crystal was specifically mentioned, and when we started, every time we talk about it now, I'm like, show idea. We have to do it.
Yeah,
because it'd be so much fun for the three of us to be like, why did our parents even let us watch this? Number one, and on the same time, or on the same token, why can't kids nowadays watch this shit? You know what I mean? Because it wasn't that bad. I don't feel like any of that really fucked me up.
Yeah, no, it didn't.
But so there's a duality to that conversation that we can have. All right, good. Moving on. The Dark Crystal doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, again, I'll try to watch a couple more episodes, but I lower than low hopes at this point. So the last thing I want to talk about was
a lovely man putting himself in harm's way for us.
The last thing I want to talk about was actually a film adaptation that was recently announced. Well, it was technically announced once already, and hopefully I won't throw you for a loop here because Will Smith is sort of the leading role and the producer in this fucking thing.
Gemini Man.
Yeah.
Bright.
But so this is based
Bad
on
Boys for Life.
Yeah.
Jesus, when does he sleep? He's like The Rock now. When the fuck does this guy sleep?
I don't know. But so this film adaptation, it's called Brilliance. Well, no, actually, I don't know what it's called. It's going to be based on the Brilliance. Well, I think that might.
We have no idea what the fuck we're talking about.
It might be what it'd be called. I don't know. But it's based on the Brilliance novel trilogy by Marcus Sacchi. So the way it works in that it's kind of I don't know. It's like little superhero, I guess. I mean, it's not. You shouldn't compare it to comic books or something, but there are people that have like sort of a gift, but it's usually like a very specific thing. Like I remember there's like assassin. There's an assassin that like can see things, just reacts faster than other people. He can see things, maybe like a second or two ahead of everybody else, and it makes him really good at being an assassin, right? It's that kind of stuff. Like people have these little traits that are like way beyond human ability, but it's just a little thing.
Maybe mutations.
Yeah, sure. I don't know how to... Yeah, maybe that's the way to describe it.
And then they're demonized by society?
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe like X-Men?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they aren't superheroes.
That's the first thing I thought of when I read through your write-up. I was like...
That is kind of the concept,
it's
but...
X-Men on a lower scale.
Yeah, because they're still very human, and they're very vulnerable, and they're going to die.
X-Men die.
You know what I mean?
They come back.
They don't have
and
fucking
they die again. And they come back.
Adamantium bones and crazy shit. Like, there's none of that stuff.
Adamantium.
It's just like,
adamantium. That's a new word, kids.
It's like aluminium. I just make up my own shit.
Aluminium. Jesus Christ, Eric.
You made me lose my train of thought. Yeah, so it's not that. It's not superhero level, but I mean, it's like some little tiny ability they have is better. And similar to maybe the Boys in a way, like there's a government group, the Boys comic, not the movie necessarily. Right. There's a government group that's like tracking these people and watching them, and some of them go sort of off the rails and do fucked up shit. And what?
I like that.
But then the agency is supposed to try to control this stuff, right? And so Will Smith is going to play one of the special agents that works for this group, and he's tracking people. But the point of the story is that he himself is a brilliant and has a special ability, but he doesn't want anybody to know that.
Right. Okay. All right. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
It could be done really well, but so Will Smith is going to produce it, and he's also going to be in the lead acting role.
Go save the world. Woo!
So I think at least a redeeming quality is that Goldsman, who did I Am Legend and I, Robot, is actually writing the screenplay for this.
Okay, 2 movies that I like Will Smith in it. So, yeah, all right. Yeah.
So those 2 have collaborated on several things, but those 2 scripts...
And it was a trilogy of books?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to read the books now because it's a concept that I like.
So he had said back in... I think I wrote it here somewhere on the notes, but he had said in like 2014 or 2015 that he was going to do this, and then the whole thing fell through, and they lost their producer, and they lost their screenwriter, and it just kind of faded away to nothing. And then he re-announced it again, this time with a different director and a different screenwriter, and so hopefully it'll continue on. But I mean,
overall, though, the concept I like, so I guess I need to check out at least one of the books to see what it's about.
Yeah, there's a lot of elements that are. I mean, X-Men is a good thing. It reminds me of the Boys a bit too, but like they call these people twists and abnorms is like the terms they use to talk to them. It's like they're kind of like. They're like the bottom 1%, not the top 1%, but
which is exactly what the mutants were in the X-Men originally. Then all of a sudden, like in the 90s, like everybody was a mutant. Yeah. And then they killed that with Scarlet Witch. No more mutants, whatever. But anyway, it sounds like a low key, low level X-Men kind of thing, but
it could be done well. And it could be a total flop. So.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't wish it will. No pun intended, Will. Sorry. I mean, either Will Smith is one of those guys where, like, if he gets the right director, which so far, iRobot and I Am Legend. I like both of those, and they in those particular films, it didn't seem like a Will Smith vehicle, where other shit you see him in is the whole.
I Am Legend is particularly good. I know people had heartache about that because the story deviated, but
it did. But I liked it. I mean, I would have liked it better had they stuck to the original ending, where he realizes that he's the legend to these people. That would have been.
Yeah,
epic.
I think we talked about that being like
they can make that now.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have made that back then. Well, they didn't make it back then. But nowadays, with the way people are taking chances and like trying to tell a story, they can make it now and make it really good. Might be too soon. But anyway, yeah, those two movies were good with him in it. But then you have the flip side. You always have that risk of it becoming the Will Smith vehicle, which might, going to save the world. Every time.
Like some Will Smith vehicles work. Like Men in Black. I like Men in Black.
I loved. Yeah. But again, it wasn't specifically him. Ish. I mean, it was, but it was. Certain writers and directors find a way to rein him in a little bit. Yeah, there's a lot of him in there where he's like, but he plays just enough of the new guy to this whole random shit there. His personality that normally comes out in other movies fits that series really well because he's just like, what the, he's out of his element kind of thing. But with the other movies, like I said, like Suicide Squad, it became he had all the distinct most of the one-liners, and he had to get that kill shot in at the end, and you know what I mean? Like, it became his movie.
Yeah.
Margot Robbie stole most of that movie from him, but it became Will Smith's movie, and that happens a lot with him. So I'm hoping this doesn't. I hope this is, again, like an iRobot or an I Am Legend or something like that. Because there's a lot of movies that I see him in that I'm like, for me, he's like 50-50 on my scale. Like, he's going to go one way or the other. Either I'm going to love it or I'm going to be like, it's just another one. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm looking forward to it. We'll keep tabs on it.
All right. I think that's all I had, man. That's it for the Geekly Weeklies, unless you got anything else on your list.
No. Nope. That was, yeah. And I guess the last one that looked like it, and you said you checked it out, because I mentioned it. I couldn't remember the name of it.
Oh, the Potter.
Well, no. Yeah, okay. Well, let's end with that.
We got more than one.
Carnival Row.
Oh, Carnival
Row. That, where I don't remember who the hell the lead actor is, although I know him. And then all I remember is seeing this dude running around. He looks like a normal human being, and then like he's talking to somebody with wings. And it just falls into this whole boom of sci-fi / fantasy type of things that's hitting everywhere now between The Boys and this and that and whatever. So it looked like something I wanted to check out, and then you actually checked it out.
Yeah, so I watched the first 3 episodes. I think that not because I knew about it, but actually it just popped up on my recommended, because I watch a movie or 2 every fucking night. So or some multiple series. So it's Orlando Bloom, by the way.
Yes, see, I know him.
And then that chick that was in the sci-fi movie with the...
No, she was in Suicide Squad.
Oh, yeah.
The Huntress. Not Huntress.
Delavine. I don't remember.
Cara Delevingne.
Delevingne. That sounds right.
Did that weird dance in Suicide Squad.
She was also in... There was a sci-fi movie with a V where her and like another dude are like some kind of partners, and they're trying to... Fuck, what the fuck is the name of that movie?
Sure.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's right. You guys never watch fucking space sci-fi movies outside of Star Wars.
On occasion. Shut up. I watch Starship Troopers.
Do your part.
Way to pull a quote out of your ass. Nice.
Where the hell were we? So I watched the first few episodes. It starts off really weird, and there's a bunch of like fairies running through a forest, and there are like human people like running after them, fucking shooting them dead and shit. And they're all trying to escape, and then one of them escapes onto a pirate ship. I'm telling you, this thing is like
way out there.
You got to be there. I mean, you got to be ready for that to watch this. And it maybe gets less weird as it goes on, actually. But I mean, some of the special effects are sort of old and tired stuff they could have done 20 years ago. So,
okay,
that can, at least for me, that can kind of mess things up. But
yeah, and that's one of the things that really hits me a lot of times when we'll watch stuff like The Boys or whatever, and you see these shows that are like, they hit everything, they hit on all cylinders, right? And then you watch these other ones like this one, say, and like, all right, the special effects aren't that great or whatever. But you go, well, look at what's being done here.
Yeah.
There are sometimes when you go, okay, yeah, studio is just better at it. But there are times when you're like, look at what's being done here, and look what the hell you're doing, and how could you possibly think that this is remotely acceptable?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of where this is starting to fall from listening to you.
I guess we'll see. Valerian. That was a goddamn movie. You never saw this movie?
Oh, yeah. Valerian, the City of a Thousand Fuckers.
Yeah. She was a character in that. Goddamn motherfucking. All right. So anyway, I might watch a few more episodes and see if I can sort of embrace it. Like I said, it's gotten less weird as I've gone on in the episodes, but right. I'm not sure.
It's been on my you might like this because I watch all that random shit.
You got to be ready for some fantasy shit, man. That's all I can tell you.
I'm ready.
You got to be ready for it.
I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons. I'm pretty sure I'm okay.
Me too, but
yeah,
some things are a bridge too far, or you work into them, you don't start with them. There's even like sex scenes between the fairy and this other dude. It's like they take some shit a little too far. But...
You're all about to find out about some fantasies you had. You didn't know you had.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty much it. All right, so Harry Potter was the last thing we wanted to cover.
The very last thing, yeah. We
yeah.
So brief announcement popped on. We Got This Covered was the website. And I didn't read the whole thing, so I have no idea. It's in talks or it's approved. Warner Brothers has slated to make a new Harry Potter movie, and it's supposed to be the Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Cursed Child. So the Cursed Child was a play that was written for UK, like stage play.
Yeah. So now it looks like they're going to make it into a movie, and according to this website, the original trilogy of Harry, Hermione, and Ron are coming back. Okay,
so do you know the story behind the Cursed Child play thing?
No.
So
I remember reading something about it, but
here's why that kind of rumor may be tough to pull off. So Cursed Child takes place 19 years later, and it's about them, but really it's about their kids.
Sure.
And so how are you going to pull off, Radcliffe and them being 20 years older and having some kids?
They did it at the end of Deathly Hallows. They aged them all.
So
now they're already older. How long? When was Deathly Hallows made?
Deathly Hallows must have been 2015. I don't fucking know.
But it was a few years ago.
Yeah.
So you already aged. They're already naturally aged 5, 6, 7 years by the time this thing comes out. Add another 10 years. You know what I mean?
Maybe. It was 2007.
7?
I was 8 years old.
2007? Dude, they're almost there.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't know how long.
It was 12 fucking years ago.
It was 2011 that the last Deathly Hallows Part 2 came out.
Okay, all right. So 8 years ago. So by the time they actually get done filming this thing and
all right, maybe
they age them a little bit. My wife's sitting there laughing at us. What?
How are you going to age people that naturally aged?
No, they still have to age them another 10 years.
We got to get 19 years ahead.
Yeah, you got to go a little bit longer there.
8 years ago or something like that. What's that math? How's that math work?
Yeah, I don't know. We're doing math. Hang on, I've got a foreign exchange student that's good at math. Hang on a second. Go wake her up. Anyway, yeah. So I mean, all right. So they've naturally aged a little bit, and then you add on a little bit more because, like I said, they did it at the end of Deathly Hallows, but it looks stupid because you have these kids that they're trying to age into this age that they're going for now.
Yeah.
But at least now they're older, so I don't know. We'll see. I hope so, just for the Harry Potter fans out there. I mean, I like Harry Potter well enough where I'll go watch it, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's enough fans that they're going to make a fortune. It doesn't really matter what they do. But the question is it really going to be a movie? Because this is all it's like hinting at shit, not necessarily.
Yeah, Warner Brothers has signed off on it, but that's about it. That's where we're at right now. So we will follow this story and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and then so I have one more now that you can't end it. I mean, what time is it?
Go ahead.
What is it like? It's like 10 something. Oh, we have all night. So
you have all night. I have to work tomorrow.
No, I actually don't.
Asshole.
So you remember that movie Face Off with
Shit, yes, I read that. Okay,
you read this too?
Yeah,
John Travolta and
Nick Cage.
And it's like the most
face.
Yeah, this is the most ludicrous plan. I mean, I don't know who the fuck wrote this, and I don't know why the hell I watched it more than once, but what the fuck? What is this? Like, they're going to take a cop and cut his face off and put a villain's face on there so he could go infiltrate his...
For those of you who don't know, John Travolta plays a detective or whatever who is after this criminal played by Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is semi-inadvertently responsible for the death of Travolta's son. Spoiler alert for a movie that's like 20 years old. So they have this big fight, and Cage's villain gets into a coma or whatever. So they have this whole plan to take his face off and put it on Travolta and have Travolta infiltrate his mob to find out some shit about a bomb or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
It's dumb.
But it's amazing.
Dumb. So, interestingly, this
awesome.
John Woo did this film.
That's why it's awesome.
Yeah. And it was probably, despite having like the worst sort of conceptual storyline for a long time, he actually did really well, I think.
The best part of this movie, and again, spoiler alert if you have not seen this, but do you remember that one spot there where they're in the middle of the shootout and he's trying to get the kid out protected. So they put the headphones on the kid and he's listening to Somewhere Over the Rainbow while all these people are getting killed.
Yeah, and there's fucking debris flying.
And that's all you hear is Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's awesome.
I feel like that's perfect for a Deadpool movie. They should use that in the next Deadpool movie.
Oh my god, if they spoof that, that'd be epic. They should have done it already. I don't know why they didn't.
Yeah, so anyway, I guess what we were trying to get to is that they're apparently going to do a remake of this movie, and no idea who's going to be in it. I'm sure it's not going to be Travolta and Cage. No. For me, Cage,
maybe a cameo.
Cage could die off, and I don't really care personally. But
all right,
I
so
like
we'll
Travolta.
Pinhole that one for the next episode. Let's look into it and try to figure out who we would cast, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Because we're running way over.
Fun. All right. I'll take a hint.
Yeah, take a hint.
Later.
All right, so hit us up. Let us know what you guys think of everything else we told you about this episode, all this wonderful shit that's going on. Let us know what else you want to hear, and any ideas that any of you have between now and October for our Halloween stuff, hit us up. www.whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that happy shit. And we'll look forward to talking to you guys soon. Later. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Mike.